Most gardeners are quietly damaging their soil every time they use wood ash, and they don't even realize it. The common advice is simple. Sprinkle ash in your garden for potassium. Sounds harmless, but here's the problem. Raw ash is highly alkaline. Used incorrectly, it locks up nutrients, disrupts microbial life, and slowly weakens your soil structure. That's why some people see stunted growth after doing what they thought was organic and natural. The mistake isn't using ash, the mistake is using it raw. I learned this the hard way after noticing inconsistent results in my raised beds. Some plants thrived, others struggled, even though they were getting the same treatment. The turning point came when I stopped treating ash like a fertilizer and started treating it like an ingredient that needs preparation. And this connects to something most gardeners overlook. How you process organic inputs matters just as much as what you add. That's actually why I started using a small electric composter in my kitchen. It breaks down scraps into a stable, usable form within hours, instead of letting them rot slowly and unpredictably. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. It solved the issue of inconsistent organic inputs and made techniques like the one I'm about to show you much more reliable. Because what I'm about to share isn't just about ash, it's about unlocking nutrients in a way your soil can actually use. The real reason raw ash fails in most gardens. Wood ash is rich in potassium, calcium, and trace minerals. On paper, it looks like a perfect natural fertilizer. But in practice, dumping it straight into your soil creates problems. First, it spikes the pH too quickly. Most crops prefer slightly acidic to neutral soil. When you add raw ash, you push the soil toward alkalinity, which blocks access to key nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and iron. Second, it disrupts microbial balance. Soil life thrives in stable conditions. Sudden chemical changes slow down microbial activity, and without microbes, nutrients stay locked. That's why some gardeners say ash works and others say it ruins their soil. The difference isn't the ash, it's how it's used. This is where fermentation changes everything. Instead of applying ash directly, I started fermenting it. This one step completely changes how ash interacts with your soil. Fermentation stabilizes the minerals, reduces the harsh alkalinity, and introduces beneficial microbial activity. Instead of shocking your soil, you're feeding it. Here's the exact method I use. I take 1 cup of fine wood ash, fully cooled, no charcoal chunks, no treated wood. Then I mix it with about 1 liter of water. To that, I add a small amount of organic sugar source. Molasses works best, about 1 tablespoon. If you don't have molasses, even a bit of sugar can work. Then, I add a microbial starter. This can be something as simple as a handful of healthy compost, a splash of compost tea, or even liquid from fermented kitchen scraps. I mix everything thoroughly and leave it in a loosely covered container for about 3 to 5 days. You'll know it's ready when the smell changes. It should smell slightly sour, not rotten. That's when the transformation has happened. So why does this work faster than traditional fertilizing? Well, when you ferment ash, you're actually pre-processing it biologically. The minerals are already in a more plant-available form, and the microbes are active. The solution ends up being balanced, which really helps. So when you apply it, your soil doesn't have to do all the work. In my own garden beds, I noticed something very specific. Plants responded within days, not weeks. Leaves became greener, growth really accelerated, and most importantly, there was no sign of nutrient lockout. That's the difference between feeding soil biology and just bypassing it. Here's how I actually use it in the garden. I don't pour it everywhere. Yeah, that's another common mistake. This is a concentrated input, so you use it strategically. For established plants, I dilute the fermented solution about 1 to 5 with water. Then I apply it directly to the soil around the root zone, not on the leaves. In raised beds, I use about half a litre per square metre. In containers, just a small cup around the edge is enough. And I don't apply it every day. Once every 2 to 3 weeks is more than enough to see results, less but targeted. That's the pattern you'll notice throughout everything that works in gardening. What happened after I started using this consistently? This is where things became hard to ignore. Fruit-bearing plants like tomatoes and peppers started producing more consistently, not just in bursts. Leafy greens developed deeper color and better texture. Even root crops showed improved size and uniformity. But the biggest change wasn't just above ground. The soil itself improved. It became looser, darker, and more responsive to watering. Earthworm activity increased, especially in areas where I combined this with buried organic matter. And here's something most people won't tell you. When your soil biology improves, you start needing fewer inputs overall. That's when you know you're doing it right. There's one critical mistake you need to avoid: overuse. Because this works so well, it's tempting to apply more. Don't. Too much, even in fermented form, can still shift your soil balance over time. Stick to small, controlled applications and observe how your plants respond. If your soil is already alkaline, you need to be even more careful. Always test or at least understand your baseline before adding mineral-heavy inputs. Good gardening isn't about adding everything. It's about adding the right thing at the right time. So this method even works beyond soil gardening. In container systems, honestly, this is one of the easiest ways to reintroduce minerals without disrupting the entire setup. Now, in hydroponics, you wouldn't use this directly in your reservoir, but you sure can adapt the principle. Pre-processing nutrients before application really improves consistency and reduces shock to plants. The idea stays the same across systems. Prepared inputs, well, they just outperform raw ones. So, why have most people never heard of this? Well, it's because it's not packaged, it's not branded, and it doesn't rely on buying more products every season. It's just a simple process using materials most people already have. And honestly, once you understand it, you start looking at everything differently. Compost, fertilizers, even soil amendments. You stop asking, what is this? And start asking, how is this processed? That's the shift that separates average results from consistent, high-level gardening. If you're getting value from this, subscribe now, because this is the kind of practical, experience-based approach we focus on here. If you combine this with one more technique, results multiply. Earlier I mentioned buried organic matter. When you combine fermented ash with localized feeding zones in your soil, you create a powerful system. The organic matter feeds microbes and worms, while the fermented ash provides minerals in a usable form. Together, they build both structure and fertility. I've tested this in multiple setups, raised beds, in-ground rows, and even controlled container environments. The pattern is always the same. Balanced inputs, active biology, strong plants. Closing. At the end of the day, gardening isn't about following trends or copying random tips. It's about understanding how soil, microbes, and plants interact. Raw inputs can work, but prepared inputs work better. When you take the time to process what you're adding, even something as simple as wood ash becomes a powerful tool instead of a hidden problem. Try this on a small section of your garden and observe the difference over a couple of weeks. That's how you build real knowledge, not by guessing, but by testing. If this helped you see soil differently, subscribe to the channel and share this with someone who's serious about growing better food using smarter methods.